Alrighty, you guys, welcome. So excited for you guys all to be here today. I'm pretty excited for the guest that we have on with us, another boss babe, CEO. Literally got connected with her on Facebook just because we're so common when it comes to women empowerment, uplifting other women. I really love what she's doing, and so I'm super excited for her to be on here to just share what she's doing, but she has a lot of experience in different areas. So I'm super excited for her to share her story. So Crystal, are you there?
I am.
Hey girl, hi. I'm so glad you were able to hop on here with me.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now, the one thing that did stick out is when so I started doing this thing, I'd say probably for the past 6 or 7 months. Whenever I get a new friend request or a new follower on Instagram or Facebook, I always send out like a positive greeting, positive message, just showing support. Like, if you need me, I got you. You want to connect, I got you. And so I remember sending you a message, and you had invited me to your Facebook community. And I was like, wow, we definitely have similar kind of values. We're trying to uplift women, empower women. And I was like, I definitely have to connect with her. And so I wanted to go a little bit in one with your movement, but if you could begin, because you have 3 businesses. So I wanted you to first share, all 3 of your platforms, and then we can kind of move our way into your community as well.
Sure. Thanks so much. So technically it's 4. So
okay.
Yeah, technically it's 4. So, but I'll start off with my baby, which is first off, Crystal Vernay. That's what I go by. And serial womanpreneur.
Yes.
So Divas and Dolls Fitness is my baby, and I've been in that business for had my studio for over 6 years. The business is a little bit older than that, but that is my pole and sensual dance studio. And I'm located in Temple Hills, Maryland. And yeah, so we've been doing well, and I'm happy to say that even despite COVID, we're still, operating, and we're also teaching classes virtually as well. So
that's awesome.
That's one of my businesses. And then it's Cirque Sensual, which is the sister brand to Divas and Dolls Fitness, and that focuses on aerial arts and performance. So it focuses on more of the circus arts, like Lyra, which is the aerial hoop. So if you're familiar with Cirque du Soleil, that's one of our main classes.
Okay.
And then we have pole silks, which is like a hybrid between pole dance and silks, which are like the silk things you see, like the pretty fabric in the circus. Yeah. It's a hybrid of that. So we teach that class, and then also we teach acro chair, which is like a combination of chair dance, acrobatic movement, and flexibility all in one class. So which is really exciting. I love that class. Love teaching it. And then we also do some traditional pole dancing with a like circus or artistic feel to it. So all of that is under Cirque Sensual.
Okay.
And then we have Simply She.
Yes.
Simply Slay Hard Every Day, which is my coaching business, as well as the name of my podcast as well. And that brand is really all about, like you said, uplifting women, empowering them to be their best selves. Really, what I teach in my coaching program is for women, ambitious women, high achievers, to be able to set goals that align with their core values and be able to manifest the life that they desire, whether that's personally and business-wise. So being able to make those multiple 6 figures and, be financially independent and just live their best lives.
I love it.
And then my 4th brand, which is Crystal Vernay, which is me, my personal brand as a speaker and author and a coach.
Awesome. Wow. I love it. Oh my God. I give it. Yeah. I just love to see it because, I mean, you're doing so many different things, like so many different realms. And it's like, it kind of all it's all different, but it's like, man, busy bee. One thing I did want to touch on, because your dance studio is a brick and mortar. And real quick, I mean, so many people are kind of going through different things. I mean, especially with the transition with COVID. So a lot more people are definitely starting, online businesses or, maneuvering that way. But I actually know a couple of people that, want to actually start a brick and mortar. Any tips, 3 things that somebody who's looking into starting a brick and mortar, anything that you can tell them advice-wise?
3 tips. Okay, let's go. First thing, you need a business plan.
Okay.
Because most landlords, which is, I'll talk about that in a second, most landlords are going to require that you have some kind of a business plan or financial backing to be able to have that brick and mortar space. You can't just walk into a place and say, I want to rent this space. If you don't have any business credit, they are going to most likely look at your personal credit. Okay. But you need a business plan, because even if it's not for the landlord, you yourself need to know how you're going to pay for this space, right? It doesn't just pay for itself. So right. Definitely have like some kind of a plan where how you're going to earn revenue. And the next thing would be to actually, for what I would say, talk to some of the tenants in the space that you're going to be in, unless it's like a single owner building. Some people move into a space where like they're the only people in the building. But if you're not, these are just kind of like logistical tips. Talk to the tenants in the building. Ask them, because even though it's the landlord's trying to see your credit worthiness, you also need to judge whether or not you want to be in this space, right? So talk to the people, figure out how the landlord is, what the maintenance issues are, like some of those things, because those are things you don't think about when you're just so excited to be in that space and put your logo on the wall that you're not thinking about logistically how this is going to work. Definitely. So maybe that's kind of like 1.5. The second would be, do you have a savings plan? Have you started to save your money? I would recommend having at least a year's worth of expenses saved before you even step into a brick and mortar space. I know some people, they get a loan, like they go out and get a loan. I mean, I didn't actually get a loan when I started my business. I used my savings and part of my tax refund, because I just didn't want to have a lot of debt. Wow. Okay. But yeah, I was like, no debt for me. Yeah. But the people, they go out and get a loan, but my recommendation is having at least 1 year of expenses saved. And I would say even don't sign a lease longer than a year. Okay. Why? Because look what we're in now, right? If you just started your business and maybe it's not a bad business idea, and maybe it can grow, but sometimes things don't go as we plan, right? Doesn't mean that it's bad, just means that maybe this is not your time, and to keep working through it and try again. But at least you give yourself an out. Like if something maybe there's a illness in the family, you get ill, and those things you weren't really preparing for, right. Definitely some things to consider. So I tell people, don't go off the bat and sign a 7-year lease or 5. It's going to be cheaper, absolutely. But just think about yourself in terms of always having a backup plan. So definitely nothing longer than a year lease. And then I think the third thing would be is have your marketing strategy together. Okay. As a brick and mortar place. That's good. How are you going to get clients? Okay. I'll tell people, social media could shut down tomorrow. How are you going to get clients? Wow. You don't own social media. That is so good. You got to think about it, right? You got to think about it. For platforms that you do not own, if it goes dark tomorrow, what are you going to do? And you should go into your business thinking, what if this happens? Because I can tell you, like, there's some platforms that didn't exist when I opened my business. Like, right. I was like, my college was one of the first colleges on Facebook. Like, really? I remember when yes, I remember when Facebook
it did start off just for like college students.
Right. Yeah. So I remember when there was no Facebook, and I remember getting the invite to join Facebook, and I was like, "What is this? Like Facebook, blah, right?"
Wow, that's crazy.
Right. So, and then like we've seen some platforms kind of like fizzle out. Like, I mean, what's it called? Snapchat. I mean, people still on there, I guess, but like it's not as popular.
I ain't used it at all. It's like forever.
Come and gone. You know what I'm saying? So just thinking that in mind, like, yes, when you're a new business, I'm not saying social media is not important, but just thinking about those things, like how else will you get clientele?
Wow.
And making sure that you have a platform that you can control.
Those were some really good tips. Like, those were really good. Now, one thing that I did want to touch on, because you're also a coach, one of your, your platforms, and you said you speak on alignment and things like that. I feel like so many of us backtrack from our goals because we don't know how to be aligned. It's like, we'll say all these positive things to ourselves, and then we don't realize, as soon as we start thinking negative, as soon as we start, the limiting beliefs, we're literally backtracking ourselves, going down this spiral hill. So for somebody who's looking to get aligned with their goals, a couple of things that you can tell them for them to start doing to really take heed to being aligned with the life that they want to live.
Absolutely. I always tell people that always starts with them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look for someone else to help you or tell you on your journey. You're the person that's going to be able to manifest your best outcome, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. You are the person. Like I always say, help is not on the way.
Yeah.
It's up to you. That's my favorite, like one of my favorite things to say. Help is not on the way. It's up to you. And also, you are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. So you have to make the decisions. You have to decide and look within yourself. Don't look within, or don't look for other people to be your validation. And that's something that I struggled with for a while. I'm a perfectionist, and a high achiever. And so I wanted to be like, yes, it's good, right? Okay, I did a good thing.
Yeah.
And then just, like taking a step back and realizing, well, I was already doing well.
Yeah.
I was already successful. Right. You were like,
Yes.
yeah, no,
No,
I already
fact.
did that thing. I've already passed this point. So why is it that I'm looking for somebody else to tell me that
Yeah.
this is good or this is like the best way to
Yeah.
do it? Like, I think your journey is your own. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times when we get in certain spaces, we want to compare ourselves to Susie down the street or Keisha over here,
Yeah.
right? We want to say, I should be where she is. I should have what she has, or I could do it better than her. Girl, why are you comparing yourself?
Right.
Like they're a whole different people, right?
Yeah.
And you are you, and you are right where you're supposed to be. So
That's good.
basically, just making sure that you start with yourself, look within yourself. And there's some questions that I give people to like really hone in on that and
Uh-huh.
think about themselves and go on that journey. And one of the things that I tell them to do is to describe themselves, and not as others would describe them. That's the first thing. Describe yourself. So don't think about it in terms of what other people would say about you. How do you describe you? Then think about, what are you good at?
Okay.
What are you good at, right? And then from there, what do you stand for? What's important to you, right? So if you're good at cooking, if you're good at, I don't know, running, bike riding, writing, whatever it is, like, right? And then what do you stand for? Do you stand for women empowerment? Do you stand for justice? Do you stand for world peace? Like, what are the things that make you who you are? And that's what I actually call the boss identity, the best observation of your subconscious self, right? So boss, best observation of your subconscious self, not necessarily related to being a CEO, right?
Okay.
Because you are the CEO of your life.
Absolutely.
So whether you own a
Absolutely.
business or not, you are the CEO. You're the CEO of your life. Hire, fire, and promote accordingly. That is very important. A
Ooh,
lesson that
absolutely.
I learned later, but now I always implement. I'm like, listen, you are fired.
Yeah.
Like,
That is good. Wow. That is, man. And that all comes with the mindset of it all, because I don't think people understand. I feel like a lot of us like stay in situations that just no longer serve us anymore. And I think it takes some people a long time to kind of get that, okay, you're fired. You are no longer serving me any purpose. Like, I just feel like we need to figure out how to get to that level way faster. Like, to where we're not just spending, just wasted time in certain situations and certain environments. Like, we just got to learn how to call it like we see it and get out.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, that I can speak about it because that was me, right?
Mhm.
That's what I've actually lived through, and that's how I created my program. Actually, that's what we go through my program, because I think a part of the challenge for so many of us is that we're afraid to confront the problem or the issue or the challenge. It's too difficult, right? The two quite often the too hard to do is put to the side. It's not acknowledged. It's compartmentalized. Like, we'll deal
Mm,
with that later, right?
yes.
Instead of dealing with it now. I'm the let's deal with it now
Yeah.
person, right?
There we go.
So, and I mean, it was kind of like I was that way for everything in my life except for dun 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 when it came to my marriage, right? So on this exterior, I was, you know, successful, high achieving. And so I felt like because it wasn't going well, it made me a failure overall.
Mm,
And so that was my self-limiting belief that,
okay.
like, um I just wasn't good enough. And it's like, why is it so difficult? Is this is all that there is? Like, this is all my life is going to be. And that was the space I was living in. And it was kind of like my mom was like, no, 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 that's not true. But
Right.
I still continued to move forward on that path. And finally, it just kind of took me saying, well, wait, I know I'm this way. I know that I treat people as they want others to treat them. I know I'm respectful. I know that I'm, a good person. So I shouldn't let this one person, tear me completely down and make me make decisions that are not in alignment with my
Mhm.
core values, because that's what was happening. I was around people I was not around like people. My circle today is completely different. Like, I'm around like-minded people, and I'm very intentional
Mm,
about who I now let in my circle, like my
yes.
inner circle, what I call the inner circle,
Yeah.
right? I have a whole concept, circle of influence, and you have to know where people fit. It's not a way to be mean or cut people out of your life. It's an unbiased way to determine who should get most of your time and
Mm,
what's most beneficial for you in a positive way to help you manifest what you want to manifest, and be as happy in life as you can possibly be. But once I really faced the challenge,
mhm.
like the issue at hand, it was like, no, girl, you're right. Like, you just need to go ahead and move right along and let go let go of the baggage. That's when you're trying to fly and you have like a ton of weight on you.
Mm, yeah.
Drop the ton of weight so that you can fly, right?
Amen to that. Now, walk me a little bit through your coaching program. Who who's like your typical client,
Hmm.
and what exactly kind of what's like an overview that you're covering in the program? Like, who would benefit from working with you?
Sure. I work mostly with my high achieving, ambitious women. And not necessarily that you like have all these awards and accolades and all these things, but you want things in life.
Mm-hmm.
You see yourself like at a higher level, you want more, you want to elevate, right? And you're constantly trying to learn things, try different things, do better yourself.
Right.
And most of them are womanpreneurs, so they have a side hustle, or already are a full-time business owner, and they're looking to scale, right? Looking to take that next step in business, or they could just be getting started. They could still be at the side hustle phase, trying to make it to the full-time phase.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and those are the folks who, typically will be in the program, who I would like to work with. Um, Now, as far as the overview of the program, it's a 6-week program, and we really take a deep dive first, setting the foundation for slaying hard every day, right? Simply she. So that all starts with figuring out, one, your core values, who you are, your boss identity. Then we walk through the circle of influence, which what I just talked about
Yep.
like making sure you have the right people around you. And I understand you're not gonna be able to cut people out of your life like that. I mean, unless they really need to be, and
Right.
then that's a whole nother
Snip, snip.
conversation. Yeah. Which it could be. It could
Right.
be that. It's happened. It could be that. But it's just getting folks to understand that concept of like, okay, if I want to have a business conversation, I can't talk to, you know, my cousin Lamont. Like, we just not gonna have that business conversation. You know, he wants to watch Netflix
Right.
every weekend. So
Right.
if I want to have a business conversation, I need to call up my business besties to talk about my business, right?
Right.
So like, just understanding that concept and being okay with, like, you know, allocating your time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then there's like being able to block out the noise, and we talk about the law of attraction and manifestation. So
Okay.
being able to ignore all the distractions out there. So don't be on social media scrolling for like 3 hours about why you don't have this, why you're not good enough. Like, you know, watching somebody's video over and over and over, obsessing.
Yeah.
Girl, get off their feet.
Yeah.
Like, just like, listen, like, blocking out those distractions is the first thing. And then also carving out or making time for yourself and making sure that you practice self-care is a big thing, especially as an entrepreneur. So we go through some tips to build that into your daily practice.
Okay.
As a business owner, as a womanpreneur, as an ambitious woman, because we can get burnt out. Just like, well, we probably get burnt out even more. So making sure that that's in your vocabulary and that you're practicing it. Then how to properly use the law of attraction. So all those self-limiting beliefs and you saying, well, you know, I can't has to be cut out of your vocabulary. You have to just starting thinking about, like, money always comes to me. I'm always happy. I'm always this, right? I'm always at peace. That you have to just start believing that and incorporating that into your daily practice of affirmation. So that piece of it, then we start to get into, once we have that foundation, then we start to get into actually the business aspect, which is creating your action plan. So you actually walk away with the action plan that's customized to you for things that you can do in your business, step by step. I'm giving you feedback. Like, you have to do it. Like, I'm all about action. You can't just write this thing and just show up and be like, here it is. And did you do anything on it?
Absolutely.
You have to do it. And part of that is setting SMART goals. So I teach you how to properly set SMART goals and how to incorporate them in your action plan to actually be able to implement, which is the most important step. And what people actually kind of not do, they start with the first step and then they kind of just fall off. No, we're going to go through the whole thing.
Right.
And then from there, it's boss decision making. So how to make high level decisions, complex decisions fast, because as a business owner, that's important. You're going to have to do that. You know, I had to come up with a whole operational plan, procedures for COVID when there's no state guidance. Like, all I have is stuff from the CDC. I have a little bit from the county. I got to piece it together and make an operation.
Wow.
Right? You know, you have like things that you've never done before. Who's had to make a pandemic operation? Not in this lifetime. Right? And so you have I have to pull from all my different expertise and experience to be able to put that together, give guidance to my staff, communicate to clients. Like, these are all things that as a business owner, you have to be able to translate those skills and make decisions quickly. You are going to do it or you aren't going to do it.
Right.
And I can say that from a woman working in a former predominantly male industry, especially working with the military a lot, that's one thing that we're looked down upon. It's like the women get frazzled.
Yeah.
Right. And so I want to teach women how to be able to not be shaken, be confident, and be able to stand next to their male counterparts. And when they hear your high heels, they're shuddering as you're walking into the room.
Yeah.
Like, being able to be that confident when you speak, right? And making decisions and not worry. And then the last thing that we focus on is building habits, right? That's all, like, that ties everything together. So after you've done the foundation with the mindset work, we've talked about how to have self-care and how to manifest. And we've also gone through your action plan. To keep it together is all about the habits that you're building. How are you going to keep this thing going? And that's also part of my community, being a part of the community and also having that accountability also with what you're working on, but how to basically build a habit and how to keep it going. So.
Wow. First of all, you over here providing so much value. Oh my gosh. No, that is so awesome. I remember the last time when we had our initial conversation, you were telling me that you do try to help women run a good business. Like, you had brought up the decision making, because we sometimes are slow with decisions, and having a good center of influence, and then incorporating systems, because sometimes that's kind of what holds us back from being high level, high operating business women, that, you know, as we can be. So I'm really glad that you were able to touch on that. Now, how important do you think it is that women invest into themselves?
Oh, like 100%. Like you have to do it. Like if you don't invest in, like, let's ask this question. If you don't invest into yourself, who's going to do it? Who is going to do it?
That's good.
Right? I mean, and I say that like not not from the sense of it actually being, it's not a rhetorical question. Like you like it's you. Like you have to do it.
Yeah.
And you know, if you don't, I think the people who invest in themselves, you can always tell the difference from the people who don't, right? And so if you don't feel like you should, how can we get you to the place? So that's where I come in. Like, how can we get you to the place for you to feel like you should invest in yourself and invest in yourself constantly, right? That's where the elevation comes in, the inspiration comes in.
Absolutely. Now, say somebody who's like never invested into themselves is listening to this. Where would they start? What do you think that what should be like the first couple of things that they should invest in?
Well, so I'm a lifelong learner. So, you know, increasing your knowledge is definitely key. But I would say if you're listening to this and you feel like you are not in touch with yourself, not in touch with your purpose, your core value, not your passion. Okay. Talk about passion versus purpose. You know, passion is something that, you know, it's kind of like, I call it a pit stop. Your purpose is your path, right? What are you supposed to be doing? Okay. So if you're not in touch with that, if you don't know what that is, then, you know, definitely you guys can shoot me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, and let me know. We can definitely have a conversation about it, because you want to have that clarity in your core values, because I tell people all the time, especially if you're interested in running a business, it shows up whether you wanted to or not. So if you're unsure, that uncertainty shows up in your business. It shows up. And it's not something that, let's say people don't be ashamed, because a lot of people are right where you are. And it's all part of your journey and in discovering yourself, but definitely gaining clarity around who you are as a person is so important. Don't let other people dictate that. So invest in yourself to figure that out, if nothing else, just so that you can be comfortable in your own skin. And it's not about being cocky. It's not about, you know, being the loudest person in the room. None of that, none of those things. It's just being confident in who you are and the way that you're living your life, respectfully, of course.
Yeah.
And then I think another place that they should look, like I said, was knowledge, like learning something, right? Whether it's reading a book, reading an article, taking in knowledge from someone that is greater than you, right? Or knows more than you, right? And then the last thing I think, which I'm always a proponent of, is a coach.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Michael Jordan has a coach.
Yep.
Serena Williams has a coach, right? Everybody has a coach to get to the next level. Yeah. And I think you have to choose the person that, works well and works best for you, which doesn't have to be me. I'm just saying that sometimes you do have to have a coach to be able to get to that next level. So
yeah, I think that's one, a great way to put it. And for me, for example, like when I first started, kind of like my self-discovery journey, it just started with me reading like tons and tons and tons of books. And then, as I started progressing, as my mindset started changing, then I started investing into conferences. Then I started investing into, different events, putting myself into different spaces, not spending a whole lot of money. But now as I progress, they do get expensive sometimes, but I'm always learning. I'm in rooms with people who are in places that I want to be. And so I too invested into a coach as well, because everybody has a coach. Like everybody needs somebody to get to the next level. And just as like a personal testimony, even with my with one of my businesses, I was kind of stuck, and I didn't really know how to kind of scale to the next level. And just last night, my business coach, she helped me figure out what my next steps were going to be. And I was like, wow, this was so valuable. And this was done in like a 5-minute conversation. I was like, Wow, that's crazy. Like, cause I was stuck and here she is, just going back and forth with her, was able to help me, put my thoughts into an actual action plan to take that to the next level. So I'm glad you touched kind of like on all of those.
Yes, absolutely. I'm like, yes.
No,
But I'm
sure.
also glad that you mentioned conferences too, like conferences and networking and meetings, just
Mm-hmm.
getting to know different people and putting yourself around people in the places that you really want to be.
Absolutely. Now, talk a little bit about your community that you have created.
Yes. So the Simply She Army, that is for, again, high achieving, ambitious women who want to get to the next level, elevate, empower themselves. But what we do inside the community, I give a lot of resources, a lot of tips. I go live in there all the time for my members of the She Army to help them take their business and their mindset to the next level. So we do a lot of work, really centered around, first, of course, I'm really passionate about knowing who you are and your core values, because once we have that, I feel like once people like really know that, it makes it so much easier to go to their business and set that up. Like they're like, oh yes, like this is the type of business I want to run. This is what I'm going to sell. Like it just all flows because you're not going against the grain,
Right.
right? You're not trying to do something that doesn't serve you. And I always tell people, especially when they're starting a business, I always ask the question, why?
Yep.
And I was like, don't mention money.
Yeah.
So tell me why you want to do this, and especially this particular business, because I do believe there's a time and a place for everything. Like, for example, right, I want to invest in real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my, my long-term goals. But at this juncture right now, I'm not looking to buy a lot of property, right? I'm not looking to do that. And there's certain, I guess, I think stages you want to be in to start particular businesses, depending on what your goals are. And if your goal is to be a real estate agent or to do real estate, obviously, yes,
Right.
you want to move forward in that vein. But I see a lot of folks just start a business, like they just start something,
Yeah.
and they're not thinking about what their long-term plan is. Like,
That is good. Yes.
again, they are like misaligned with what they
Yeah.
really want to accomplish. Like, you're in school for physical therapy. Then you are, you got a dog walking business, a car washing business.
Yeah.
Then you started some MLM thing,
Yeah.
and you're like, nothing's working. I'm like, well, what is it that you really would like to do here? Like,
Yeah.
because I definitely understand, like, there are some things you do as a means to an end. You do to save money so that you can move on to the next thing that you want to do, right? But like, I'm going live later in my group to talk about how, like, it costs to be the boss, because it's kind of like, what kind of decisions are you making in your life that, you're just kind of all over the place? You should definitely stay true to your path. So that's what we work on a lot in the group is, okay, like, what is that you're really trying to accomplish? Because a lot of people, they carry around things. They're going to carry those businesses, those ideas, when really those things aren't serving them. They're just things that popped in because they didn't concentrate on that one thing they really wanted to do. They didn't know how to get it off the ground. So that's what we really focus on, like honing in on that, in addition to making sure that they've trained their mind properly.
Follow one course until successful. Yes, people. That is so huge. And I speak on this as well too. It's like, especially on the online world, and so many people have gained clientele from social media, which is absolutely amazing. But then you have individuals who, like you said, they're in this business and in that business and in this business, and it's like, how do you expect anybody to, one, trust you, or two, take you seriously when you don't seem like you know what you're doing? Like, you're just not following something until you're successful. And it's like iffy for somebody who's looking on the outside, like, okay, I see her talking about this, then she's talking about this, and it's like it's a hot mess. Like,
Yeah,
it's a hot mess from the outside.
I agree. Yeah, I'm like, and for those of you watching, like, if you didn't know, it's a hot mess.
Yeah, like literally. And now your community, I believe it's free to join, right? They can just, okay. Now tell me, just because I'm in a ton of groups. Like I'm always being added to groups. Now, what is some tips that you could give to somebody who is interested in maybe starting their own community? Like where would they start? You know, they're trying to, you know, start their own little tribe. Any tips?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is don't just add your friends and family just because.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, starting off strong.
Yep. So a community of one is better than a community of silence.
Whew.
So
Lord.
just don't add your friends and family just because it's the thing to do. You want people in the group. Sure, people will be in the group. But I think it's like starting off the right way with the people that you want to attract. So when you're in groups and you're looking for people to join your group, you want to look for like-minded people or the people who you want to be in your group. That's who you go to get. So if you're in another group and you're like, hey, I'm starting this group that does this, the people who respond, those are the people you invite, right? Not everybody, because everybody doesn't belong in your group.
Right.
You know, and if it really is your friends and family, are they interested in the thing that you're actually, whatever your group is about?
Right.
If they're interested in it, cool. Then yes, go ahead and add them. If they're not, no, don't add them. No. So I think that's the first and foremost. Don't get discouraged because, you know, everybody's not going to want to join your group.
Right.
And that's okay, you know, so just being mindful of course, no, that's going to happen.
Right.
And then I think it's, you know, always promoting it and, you know, talking about have this great community and providing value. I think
that's a big one.
Like, make sure you provide value. Like, what is it? Why are people joining your community?
Right.
Like, what value do they get from being inside? So I think that's the other thing too. So I think those are my three things: is don't invite everybody.
Any encouragement for individuals who do start communities, and it seems like the people that are maybe added, they aren't really engaging, or is that more so making sure you're adding people who seem to have an interest in what you're even speaking about?
Yeah, I think it's really making sure you add people who have an interest in what you're speaking about, because if they have a true interest, they're going to engage.
Right. Okay.
Right. They're definitely going to engage. And then I've also seen people tag people who are inactive and like say, hey, just making sure you're still alive. Like, I've seen that too. So, hey, you know, we're still here. We still love you. I'm like, woo.
Good.
I was like, woo, okay.
Funny.
But that all comes into, that's a little higher level and all into community management. But like, seriously, if people are interested, they will engage. And if you have a conversation with them and make a genuine connection and then add them, then I think your community will be that much stronger.
Absolutely. I love that. Now, you just recently had a women's summit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Yeah. So it was a 3-day virtual summit. Yeah. Ooh, child. Yes. And we had 11 speakers. And really, the theme of the event was inspire, elevate, and transform. And that was really my goal for all the women that attended. We had topics from, you know, like how to protect your mindset in business. Yeah. We had some marketing strategy, investing in real estate. We had a vegan cooking demo. That was my favorite thing because I'm thinking about it, and I was like, oh, she got some tips. So I'll definitely be releasing the ability for folks to be able to see the recordings very soon. Awesome. But the other topic that we had too was how to successful elements of a podcast, and there are a lot of different topics that we had. And also, of course, becoming fierce in your finances, financial freedom. So all the things that womenpreneurs and ambitious women need to know were in the summit. And it was, you know, truly a humbling experience because people who participated, they gave so much value. And I know that it'll definitely touch lives for years to come. So I was, you know, just really excited and really thankful for everybody who came out.
That is so awesome. Now, I was super bummed that I missed that one. Are you going to be having any more?
Absolutely. I'm going to be doing more in the new year.
Okay.
So please look out for them. I'm definitely trying to see if I can get one together for Q1. So
Okay.
if not, definitely it'll be in Q2, but definitely look out for it because it was such a great event, a great experience. And a lot of folks who weren't able to make it were like, are you going to do another one? So I'm like, yeah, it's going to be another one. So yeah.
Yay, I'm excited. Yeah, no, I love women events. I actually just put on my very first one this year, a networking event. And so it's just honestly, I think it's really humbling when you see that, you know, your efforts are really changing other people's lives, like putting people in the same, you know, room and, you know, seeing friendships that have blossomed, seeing business partnerships that have blossomed when they didn't know each other before your event. So it's like,
Right.
it's really cool to see. And I just feel like more women kind of need to have that frame of mind where we're just always trying to connect with one another, always trying to figure out how we can collab with one another, how we can help one another. And so any tips on women empowerment and how we can just uplift our fellow sisters and to where we're just more unity?
Yeah, so this actually came up in the summit, and I'm going to repeat this. And I believe this was, trying to think, I think it was Dr. Angela Harris that said this. She was one of our speakers, and she was talking about social comparison, you know, and I was like, that is really, you know, that's deep. I was like, I never had a word or a phrase for that. So I was like, social comparison, stop the social comparison.
Yeah.
Like when we get in a room full of women, we automatically are like, her dress, her hair, her nails, right?
Yeah.
Like, or, you know, why she wear that? Like, you know, those, even if you're not saying those comments, you're thinking them.
it. Yeah.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Yes.
Because you don't know. And people will make up whole stories about your life, who you're with.
Yeah.
They'll, you know, they'll even be counting your change before they'll count your coins before you do. Right. And you just like, yo, like you don't even know. Like you don't know me. You don't know my situation. So I think if we can stop that and we can give each other the benefit of the doubt and really come from a place of respect and come from a place of really trying to learn and also trying to add value to one another, that would be like if your intent was always when you approached one another person to add value and not think what can I get out of it, right? Like not did you buy first and then sell later, right?
Yeah.
Did you invest in that person first and then ask for something afterwards? Or are you asking and constantly asking for things that only serve you and not thinking about anyone else? I tell people all the time, especially if you want to be the boss and you know you want to be the boss of something, unfortunately, you don't come first.
That's a fact.
Especially if you have a team. Like you do not come first.
Yeah.
It is your responsibility to think about those who you are responsible for.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, we always come with that mindset of, you know, I guess like I call it servant leadership,
Yep.
like come from that mindset when we were in the room with other women, like-minded women of how can I provide value and have that exchange before there's the like, and that hopefully that will help to eliminate all the social comparison that goes on. So
wow, that was so good. That was so good. I just did I'm out here in Atlanta and I've been hosting these brunches with strangers, and it's like a group of girls. We just meet up and you know we do brunch together. And one of the young ladies, me and her were having a conversation. I was telling her, I was like, you know, it's so crazy that as women we judge each other harder than these men do. Like, you know, when we see somebody, we're like, okay, why is she wearing that? Why she got her hair like that? Why is she, you know, doing this? And then I'm like, we gotta stop that. Like it's so crazy that we are so heavily judged by one another. And so yeah, we definitely need to stop that. And then when you touched on adding value, I absolutely love that. And it can be so simple to do. You know, even when I said, you know, I send out those greeting messages to people, you'd be surprised by how many people just aren't even, you know, don't even have positive exchanges like that. And I'm just like, oh wow, you know, it takes all of 30 seconds for me to send like, hey, you know, I'm here if you need me. And it's just like, we just got to get more into that mindset. Like, how can I add value to this person? Like, how are they going to leave better after, meeting me or knowing me? And so, wow, I loved that. I really loved that. Now, for anybody listening to this, who are you trying to connect with? Like, anybody like, what type of women are you trying to connect with?
Yeah, so I think, again, it is really that ambitious, high achieving woman in terms of for my coaching. Well, really just anybody,
Like-minded.
any like-minded, ambitious, high achieving women. That's who I'm trying to connect with. And I love networking. Meeting different people, different entrepreneurs, different industries. Definitely different industries like that. You can always learn something from someone else.
Yeah.
That is even if it's something small. So
absolutely.
Definitely that. And then, yeah, so ambitious, high achieving, like-minded women. Yes, let's connect.
Absolutely. Now, one last thing, tell us how we can actually listen to your podcast, because you have one as well. So when does that come on, or when do you air your episodes?
Yeah, so the Simply She podcast, it's a weekly podcast.
Okay.
Episodes drop on Tuesdays at 10 a.m.
Okay.
That's the audio episode. So you can listen to the episodes every Tuesday, and you can check out the replays at isimplyShe.com/podcast.
Okay.
That's isimplyShe.com/podcast. And also, I do live episodes as well. They're not scheduled necessarily on any particular day, but if you subscribe to the Simply She Facebook page and also our YouTube page, you'll get alerted when we're about to go live and do a podcast episode.
I love it. Yes. Like I said, I knew we had to connect because I was just seeing all the value that you share. Now, as we close out, are there any final words that you want to leave the audience with?
Yes, I absolutely do. So glad you asked. I just want to remind everyone, I do this everything I do. Remind you guys that remember, you too can conquer if you slay hard every day.
Oh, okay. That was it. That we gonna end right there. That was a good one. Well, Crystal, I am so glad that you were able to join me today. Like I said, you provide so much value, and so it's like one of those things where you see like-minded women. It's like you got to commend them. I see you. Keep doing it. Keep going. Keep grinding. Keep slaying. So yes, like I said, I definitely appreciate you for being on, and we will definitely be talking soon.
All right. Thanks so much.
Bye, girl.
Bye.